My name is Jonan Kandwanaho, and I'm the Managing Director at Jonaki Holdings Limited. And at Jonaki Holdings Limited, we offer credit. We give loans. So a microfinance institution. So if we give loans, affordable loans, and super quick. But whereas the banks might tell you 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 1 month, we say no. You can have that loan in 6 hours. You can have that loan in 24 hours max, and you can go and do your thing. You can go and clear your consignment. You can go and invest in your business and grow it. You can go and sort out that urgent issue and get on board or grow. All right. So it's a pleasure to have you today. And I know our meetings happen from 5:30 to 6 p.m. every Friday. All right, so today we have quite an interesting topic. The profitability of goat rearing. The profitability of goat rearing. Now, we run several businesses. We run several ventures. But not all businesses are profitable. Not all businesses are profitable. And most businesses have continued to be unprofitable in the guise of it is still growing. You've had businesses that have been unprofitable for quite a while, disguising that they are growing. You find the business started 1 year, down the road, no magoba. Second year, down the road, no magoba. Third year, no magoba. Fourth year, what is it that you're doing? Which business is that? That is no longer a business, but a monster. It is a money eater. I am here to tell you the good or the bad news, based on which side of the coin you're at. The good news is that you can improve. The bad news is that that monster has been eating your money for quite a while. So if it's a business, it had either give you profits or you kick it off. If it is farming, you had either get profits or you close it. You either make money from that business or you kick it down the drain. Because I do not think that you can afford to keep feeding it and yet it does not want or it is not feeding you. And most of the time, some of these businesses do not feed us, not because they are not able to. They do not feed us not because they cannot or they are not feasible. But most of the time, we as investors, we as business people, are the biggest challenges to our businesses. Because if you lack knowledge, if you lack information on how that business can be profitable, it might continue being unprofitable for the next 5 or so years. You're not about to jump off that trail. So meaning that you as a leader, the best thing you can do for yourself, the best thing you can do for your business is to have the information, is to equip yourself, is to get the knowledge concerning that project that you're running, concerning that business that you're running. You have to get the knowledge. The business might not be profitable just because the head is not informed, because the head is not knowledgeable in that industry, because the head does not know numbers. You're running a business, but you do not even know how much it is that you're putting in. You do not know how much it is that you even plan to get out of it. Now, failing to plan is planning to fail. If you do not plan for your business or your project, definitely you should not wonder or you should not get shocked why it's not profitable, why it's not growing, or why it has failed, or why it is going to fail for that matter. So failing to plan is planning to fail. And why you're planning to fail is because you have the knowledge gap as the owner of the business. So, whereas some people are benefiting from goat rearing as a business, you might be hitting rocks. As a matter of fact, you might be almost getting out of business. And other people are stocking goats. And other people are scaling up. But for you, you're getting out of business. Why? Because you have not sat down to assess your business. You've not sat down to establish how your business can be profitable, to highlight the cost implications, to highlight the key gaps that you need to bridge in order for the business to be profitable. You have not sat down. So I want to ask you a question. Whom is to blame? Or whom are you to blame? Whom are you to blame for the business not being profitable? It is you. Because your number one risk to your business, your number one risk to that project. Even the Bible says it, that if you do not sit down before you construct a building, if you do not sit down before you construct your project and establish the costs of the material, of the labor, of how long it will take, you will construct it and reach in the middle and get stuck. And not only will your family laugh at you, but also the public will laugh at you. That is according to the Holy Bible. If you do not count the cost, you're going to reach in the middle, the project will sit on you. Project neza kushtanira. The project will sit on you. So, to establish the profitability of your business, you need to know the cost. How much it is that the business is costing you. There are some numbers that you need to know. For example, if you're looking at 5 goats and below, it might not be as profitable. It might not be as profitable. Unless you're looking at a long term of multiplying those numbers to the numbers that you want. But even then, it will take you a long time. So there are minimal numbers that you have to look at for the project to be feasible. And feasibility is relative. Whereas I'm thinking that feasibility of the project, of goat rearing project, should earn me maybe 4 million a month or 3.5 million a month, you might be there and for you want only 100,000 a month. And it is profitable on your end. So that's why I say that profitability is relative. That whereas I'm thinking the project should give you 4 million or 5 million a month, you might be comfortable with the 150,000 or 200,000 that it is giving you a month. So I will not force you to make it profitable. I might not force you. But it's upon you to step up your mind to make sure that whereas you looked at 100,000 per month as a project being profitable, other people are harvesting 5 million a month from a similar project. The only difference is that they're running it with a different mindset. They're running it at a different scale. They're running it with a different approach. They are costing everything that they put in. And that's how they can know that the project is profitable or not. Now I want to ask you a question. Is it your will that you get 100,000, 150,000 a month from that project, and yet it can give you 5 million? You convince me, tell me that you're getting that 150,000 just because it's what you want. That you're not yearning for the productivity of maybe 3 million or 3.5 or 1.5. It is always our yearning that our businesses give us profitability as much as they can. So meaning that the less they give us, the more a disservice they are to us. And the more it should point to us to step up our game. The more they should point to us to learn more. The more they should point to us to learn from people who are doing it better. I have a few guys I mentor in some of the different areas that I do. I also have people I learn from, like Grace Woj. We have a WhatsApp group, and she's the admin of the group. We learn, all the good farmers. We learn from each other. We make sales. We support each other. So given the area, I learn from the best. Just like someone can learn from me in a particular area, like money lending. So I also learn from someone, I feed from someone. But if you're there and you're doing a micro project and you're earning 150,000 a month and you're not willing to learn, because the project is not only going to run in losses, but also it might close. That is the worst case scenario. It might close. It might either work in negatives, get on a negative slope, or it might close. So, boss, madam, you have no option but to learn. Learn. If you're running any project, might not be GOAT, but today I'm focusing on GOAT. You need to learn from the best. You need to learn from who is doing it better. That whereas you're getting 500,000 from that project, it has a potential to give you more than 1.5 million. But until you get the information, until you get the knowledge that can step up your project from the 500 to 1.5 million, you will not get there. That is magic. That is witchcraft in Uganda. It will not happen. In reality, it will not happen. So until you step up a few things, until you step up that project, until you close some loopholes, some gaps, through which that monster has been eating your money, then you might not be able to realize the profitability to that level. You might not get the profits that you'd have realized had you bridged or had you closed those gaps. So there are quite a number of gaps that you might not even learn in 30 minutes that I'm sharing with you right now. That's why you need someone to guide you, to support you, to help you to close those gaps. There are quite a number. And I remember in one of my YouTubes, one of my videos, sharings on Fridays, I shared some of those gaps, but I cannot exhaust them. So until you go to the deep end, then you might not realize what those gaps are, and now you can bridge them. So what is stopping you, if I may ask? What is stopping you from learning and bridging those gaps so that you can scale up your project? Your goat project could even be cow project, could even be any other project. Because some of these principles cut across. They do not apply to one project in an industry. They cut across the industries. Tourism, agriculture, farming, manufacturing, they cut across. So meaning that if you learn some of these principles, you might apply them irrespective of the industry you're in, irrespective of the industry you're playing in. So a question to you: why aren't you learning? Why aren't you stepping up? You might think you've reached, and yet where you are is a starting point for someone else. And that requires you to grow. Requires you to grow both in the scaling of your project, requires you to grow both in the knowledge, requires you to grow both in the finance, it requires you to grow in all aspects. Even to grow you as a leader, to grow yourself. So it might start with you before it trickles down to your staff, before it trickles down to your project that you're running. So today, I am telling you, learn as much as you can and learn from the best. Learn from the best. Now, as I come towards the closure, there are two areas that you need to view goat rearing. If you've been having embuzi, if you've been having goats, if you've been having, I don't know what they are called in other languages, maybe you can post down there what you call them. And you've been viewing them generally, now is the time to focus your view. So you can have three categories. One is to view them as a project that supports you when you're at the farm. You just slaughter. You have friends, you invite them at your farm, or when you visit, for those who stay in towns and when you travel in your villages or up country, slaughter one and eat. Now that is not a project. That is food. Just just like you go to the banana plantation and chop that banana plantain and eat it. That's what it is. So it's not a project. Stop calling it a project. If they are for eating only, if they are for feasting on when you travel with your friends up country, that's not a project. you're running it as a by the way. Second view. The second view is if you've been viewing goat rearing as goat rearing generically, now is the time to categorize. Are you running it, the project, as a breeder, or are you running it to supply the market for eating? Because that will give you a very, very interesting perspective. Now, if you want to enter, or if you want to maximize goat rearing, you have to enter it as a breeder. And I want to warn you, you will not start as a breeder. You will grow into becoming a breeder. A breeder is a person whom all the other farmers, all the other guys, all the other colleagues go to for good-sized goats, for good breeds of goats, for good practices, and on how they can actually become breeders themselves. Like I gave you an example of Grace Wodge. She's a breeder. She has scaled up. And there are several other breeders. And that's the most profitable point of the value chain. So if you're a generic farmer, it's now to think, unless it's not your vision, unless it's not your goal, unless you're participating in the passing, it's now time to think or rethink if you may need to scale your project up to the breeders category. Now, to move to the breeders category, you don't just fall there, because you're going to knock yourself. You're going to buy those boas, you're going to buy those savannas. You do not know how to manage them. They are not as resistant to diseases. They're not as resistant to the conditions. They're not as adaptive to the different environments. You're going to lose them all. Or if not, the project might not run smoothly. You're going to lose kids, over 90% of the birth at the farm. And that's when you're going to learn that farming is not for the weak-hearted. And that's when you're going to start casting Jonah that I gave you katwa. I did not. It's because you started as a breeder and yet you're just learning. You're starting in the industry. One thing I advise is that if you're a newcomer in this goat rearing thing, start at a different level. Start with either mixture of boas and mubende goats or local goats, or start with the local goats themselves, the actual local goats. Because they're adaptive, cross them up, buy the sizable ones, scale up your project, and transition from that level to the level of breeders. So there are 3 windows. You could be there, and they are just there, for eating when you travel there. So this might not even help you. This video, if you're logged on, it might not help as much. If you're watching this video, it might not help as much. So you might not have to waste your data or your time. You're a different category. If they are for just eating, they'll always be there. They always produce, and you always have something to eat. Category number 2 is start with the local breeds, but sizable ones. Could be a mixture of boa and mubende. Could be a mixture of savannah and mubende. But let them not be the exotic breeds right from the point go. It might be tricky for you because there are lots of things to learn. So start from that end. As you start from that end, you can start disposing of or selling off to the actual market for slaughter. Yes, the breeders might not buy from you. People who have gotten acquainted or who are transitioning from that general category to the breeding category might not buy from you. But ultimately, you will sell to the market. Because as I talk now, a kilo of goat's meat goes for 15,000 or even more in some places. So you can still supply, the market is readily available. The buyers are readily there, especially if your sizes are good, because there are also locals that have very, very good sizes. So meaning that at the stocking level, you need to be good at your game. You need to stock properly, sizable ones. And 2, you have to buy bucks that are very, very good and sizable. So if you have the locals, or if you have the mubende, if you have the mixed breed, that's when you can actually introduce a buck that is a boa, a buck that is a savannah, and that's how you cross. And along the way, you transition as you're understanding the project from that generic category to the breeders category. Now, the breeders category is the game of the big boys. Is the game of those guys who are acquainted with the knowledge. Is the game of those who have been there for quite a while. Is the game of those who have experimented the generic projects. So those two key windows, you need to know where to start at. And that's when you can know. That's when you can know how profitable your project is. That's when you can assess. That's when you can see where you're going. See, the profitability, the core max of the profitability of God's project is breeding. It is at the breeding level. Because you can imagine a small boa, a very small boa that weighs about maybe 10 kilograms or 15, could go as much as 600,000. Do you realize that even some of the goats go to as much as 1,000 US dollars? I've seen someone who has sold a bull, a buck at 1,000. That's about 3.5 million. One like this. How many goats can you sell to raise 3.5 million? Person is selling one, 3.5 million. That's when you can start playing in the league of the big boys. But you don't start there. You walk into there. You grow into there. But the moment you max that, that's when you start benefiting. That's when you start realizing the profitability of the project. Even in the other end, you can choose to keep there, especially maximizing on the multiplication, on the numbers. Granted, you could make some bit of profits, but it gets sweeter when you get in this other side of the quadrant. And who wouldn't wish, unless you're running that project as a by the way, but who wouldn't wish to transition from the left side of the quadrant of the generic farmer or the eater only to the big boy of the breeder? I think it to be the aspiration of almost everyone. It will be the aspiration of almost everyone. But one thing I would like to tell you is that I've found goat rearing as one of the most profitable projects. Most profitable projects. One, because the goat produces twice in a year. Twice. Every 6 months, you have your kids on the farm. So meaning that the rate of multiplication is very, very high. You can buy 10 goats, and by the time you realize, they are 50. So it's an amazing project. It's a great project. 2, the market is readily available. Who does not like goat's meat? Maybe vegetarians. But if you to consider the fraction of vegetarians in the country, even in the world, they are not as many. They could not even be any of you guys in the call. All you guys could be meat eaters. And none could be vegetarian. So there's readily available market. Whether you wake up in the morning or in the night or on the weekend, it's just a call away and you can sell off. 3, they are easy to manage. They do not compete with cows. If you have a farm or you have a ranch that has some bit of shrubs, they do not compete with other animals like cows because they don't feed most on the grass. They feed on the shrub and a few things here and there. Unless you're doing zero grazing, unless you're caging them and providing them with food, which is a different mix altogether, with a different cost computations. But if you're free range, the goats do not compete with other animals, meaning that it can even cross from your farm to the neighbor's farm, based on where your farm is located, especially for farms that are a bit extensive, that are a bit huge. You can easily run the project. So there are quite a number of things. Now I want to help you look into the cons. They are the most outstanding disadvantage that you should know. And that's why I told you that goat rearing is not for the weak-hearted. The most challenge that you can meet are the thieves, the predators. Just like human beings like goat's meat, there are several other animals, including human beings, that like goat's meat, especially if it's not their projects. They want the outputs of the project, which is God's meat, but they do not want to support the project. And how do you call those ones? Thieves. I can see Joel. That's the thing. The challenge is theft. If you're faint-hearted and you do not put the key security measures, you're going to wake up one morning and your project is at 0. And if you're faint-hearted, you're going to faint. That's the most challenging thing, because there are lots of predators that feed on the goats, including the dogs, including the hyenas, including the different animals, right away from the kids to the goats themselves. It's a big challenge. So if you bridge that gap, if you learn from someone who is doing it better, then you can actually benefit from the project. You can actually benefit from the project. So it's a key pointer is that there are lots of predators for goats. Challenge number 2, at the stocking. If you stock a bad breed, you're going to curse yourself. You're going to curse the project, and it's going to sit on you. Project ijja kutuulira. So you need to stock sizable goats. Right from the word go. Whether local, they are good breeds, but they are local. The size is good, and size is good. So if you stock a wrong size, and sometimes you buy them expensively, it is a challenge. I always learn from Grace Boji. She shares with us, by the time someone moves a goat to the marketplace, it has an issue, or there's a reason as to why they have moved it there. Either it cannot produce, either it produces one kid. It has to have a bit of a challenge. So meaning that while you're stocking, you might not go to the open market where the goats come from different areas. You might have to source from the farm of the person who's rearing the goats himself, especially if you're going to breed. Or else, you're going to buy diseased goats, you're going to buy challenged goats, you're going to buy damaged goats. Is there a damaged goat? I don't know. But a bad breed or something that has a complication that you might not be able to realize. So it's important that you source from the farm or from someone whom you trust and who is already running the project. Guys, I think our time is fast spent. I'm running a mastermind. You can inbox in this area on this aspect, or engage someone who is doing the project before you start it, and that's when you're going to enjoy the profitability of the project. But those key pointers, I hope they guide you to start. Start like yesterday. Don't postpone. Start now if you've been having it in mind. And I hope 1 or 2 people will implement all that I've shared with you. I love you so much, guys, and thanks for tuning in. You can check out even this video or related videos on my YouTube channel, John Kandwanaho. You can subscribe. It's free of charge. You can also check out a few of our services on our website at www.jonakiholdings.com. I love you guys and have a great evening. Enjoy your Friday and the rest of the weekend. God richly bless you. Bye-bye. Greetings, Joel. Kanyis Jeremiah's Obi. I love you guys. It's always a pleasure. All in wonder, Kahurubka. I love you guys. Have a great evening and God bless you. Bye-bye.